Hello, and welcome to another agonizingly dreadful episode of We Only Look Thin.
Another one.
I am Katherine Weigel. I am one of your hosts. I am a Tiny Habits certified coach, a Thrive Global certified coach. I have lost over 100 pounds and kept it off for over 6 years.
Whoa.
And with me today is the undreadful...
agonizingly dreadful Donald Weigel. I have lost about 100 pounds. I am one of the hosts of this show. I've kept it off for, 6.5 years or something, coming up on 7. And we're here to talk about it.
We are. But isn't it delightful when someone tells you how to feel about something?
Oh, I love that.
Like, I just started by saying this was agonizingly dreadful.
Yeah.
Again, more of it.
Well, aren't all of the episodes? Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. But when we start out by telling someone what to expect.
Yeah.
Like, you're setting yourself up for either success or failure. Like, if you tell someone this is terrible, they're going to be like, all right, I think that this is going to be bad.
Yeah, it's like a movie that, is getting bad reviews. Maybe you would have enjoyed it.
Maybe.
But you're not going to.
You know what? I am actually listening to an audiobook right now that it's called I'll just say what it is. It's called The Unwedding.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, very spooky. Very, 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 very much spooky. Like, who unweds? What's that about? I'm never going to do that because I'm spiteful.
Is it like Alice in Wonderland and Unbirthday?
No, but it is a book. And one review that I saw was like, eh. And I was like, well, you know what? Just as you were saying, I was like, maybe I'll think it's super-duper.
Yeah.
So I have about 7 minutes left in the audiobook.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to finish it.
Oh, man.
Like, when I saw there was 40 minutes left, I was like, I don't care what happens to these people. I don't and I was like, I don't need this information. I was like, I got more life to live. Life is, the clock is ticking. Things are ticking. I don't know if I care about this anymore.
Yeah.
And so I thought it would
be... So you listened for 33 more minutes.
And I was like...
and now you're going to give up with 7 left.
You're always expecting, like, maybe there's some giant reveal at the end.
What if those last 7 minutes you're like, oh... it nailed it in the end. It brought it all together.
Well, but that's the thing. So maybe should we just listen to it right now as a family?
We're gonna just play it. Play the last 7 minutes.
Play the last 7 minutes, and then I'll fill you in if it was worth it. But if it wasn't worth it, then I've just saved you an Audible credit or maybe $18 at your Barnes and Noble.
Yeah,
like so you don't have to worry about it. But I want to, and I'm not going to because I'm a nice person. Well, Donald knows I'm not a nice person, but
everyone thinks you're a nice person, but I know the real you.
What I want to do, it's called the, what did I call it? The unwedding? Unwedding.
Yeah.
Unwedding.
Yeah.
What I wanted to do was write a review that just said, I wish I could have it as the unreading or something. Isn't that great?
Oh my goodness.
I wish I could unread it.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah, it's super good.
I love it.
Oh, you do love it?
I
It's
do.
not just ironic. Okay.
No, it's great.
But like that's the kind of 1980s drama and comedy of like cheers and cheers, whatever. It's not good, people. Don't read it. And if you liked it, then you know what? I'm going there. I think there's something kind of wrong with you.
Whoa!
It's so bad. I'm tired of rich people going to distant locales and being in trouble.
Yeah.
I think they get what they get if they go to distant locales in dangerous places with mudslides.
Yes.
That's what I say. That's why we don't live in Big Sur.
All right. So what does this have to do with the episode we're recording today?
Okay. That's a very good question, Donald. I appreciate it. So at the very beginning, I said it was agonizingly dreadful.
Yeah.
And maybe one of the first things that was agonizingly dreadful for me was knowing that I had to go to middle school.
Oh, yeah.
Because in 5th grade, everybody started talking about what high school are you going, or what middle school are you going to? What junior high? What's the difference? I don't even know. Are you going to Malaga Cove Middle School? I said, yes.
Yeah.
And they said, you're going to have to run Agony.
Oh, boy.
Agony Hill. And I was like, I'm sorry, who is going to do what now?
Yeah.
Agony Hill. It is a 1 mile run.
What do they have on Agony Hill? Oh, cotton candy.
Monkeys and kittens.
Yeah.
So it was called the Agony Hill. So in PE class, you have to run Agony Hill every week. And I was like, can I opt out of middle school? What if I self-taught myself at home starting in 6th grade? I did not, I was actually like, how can we move and get away from here so I don't, I'd never even seen it. Yeah. And then I was already dreading it. So, flash forward, I went to that school and had to run Agony Hill. Yeah. And guess what? It was agonizing. It was terrible. I was always the last one.
I thought you were going to say, I thought there was going to be a twist and you're going to be like, it was fine.
It was awful. No. It was absolutely awful.
No, actually, I knew that because you've talked about Agony Hill a lot. It obviously was a traumatizing event in your childhood.
Well, and anyway, so Agony Hill, it was absolutely terrible. And last week, our daughter and I were driving somewhere. It was a Thursday.
Yeah.
And we had to drive near where her old high school was. And she said, I was like, oh, hey, when do you go to your high school? And she was like, no, because today is Thursday. And Thursdays, you have to run the mile.
Yeah.
And I, like, ha, 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 that's terrible. And I said, do you know what is great about being an adult? Is that nobody makes you run the mile.
Yeah.
And then I got a little bit farther and I was like, but you know what is also terrible about being adult? Nobody makes you run the mile.
That's right.
Nobody.
That's right.
Nobody cares if you run the mile. There's no more miles to run.
Or get any movement at all.
No.
Nobody is responsible for that except you.
Yeah, and the chilling reality is that grown-ups are responsible for themselves.
That is the most terrifying thing of all. It is just about Halloween as this episode comes out.
It is. And honestly, there have been times, and there was a time right before I started this last Time Journey venture, that I literally thought that I wanted someone else to force my hand to kind of take over. I felt like I wanted to be a puppet on puppet strings, and I wanted someone else to just get me to do all the things that I needed to do.
Right.
I'm not kidding. I remember kind of in despair going like, I feel paralyzed. I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. I just want someone to tell me what to do. And a lot of that dread just comes from feeling overwhelmed by the idea. Specifically today, we're going to be talking about exercise. Of like, back in the day, at least somebody was making me do something. Right? I had to do something because I had to get a grade and I had to graduate and get away from Agony Hill, which I did. Hooray for me. But as a grown-up, nobody is going to protect you from yourself. Yeah. And no one is going to make you do anything. And a lot of times when we get into these kind of like fitness inspo things where we think we're going to overhaul our entire lives, like we see some they ran a marathon. They never trained before, but they did it because their dog got, had a tooth pulled or something. And That's my inspiration. Nobody is going to make us do anything, but obviously we get overwhelmed with kind of these grand ideas about what exercise means, and so we dread it, and so we stop doing it. So today we are going to talk about, finally, why we dread exercise, which obviously aside from Agony Hill, and then what we're going to do about it. So exercise is not a to-do list item. You are not just like, I'm just going to be healthy and then check it off the list. It is a lifetime pursuit, which is also good thing, bad thing, whatever. But Donald is going to start us off by telling us why we dread new healthy habits. Donald, why? Why do we do it?
Well, because they stink. I think that you mentioned wanting to be a puppet. Also, puppets are scary.
Yeah, those are terrifying.
Just to interject two things. But we dread new habits, to get to the point, because of a number of things, one of which is a fear of failure. Speaking of things that are fearful. Past experiences and fearfulness, failures, past experiences and failures. We know that we've tried things and failed before, so we're afraid that it's going to happen again. We have a fear of change. Yep. We have a fear of being overwhelmed, or we're just overwhelmed. It just seems like too much to take on. There's a lot of social pressure. We have unrealistic expectations. Like, we expect if we start exercising for a couple of weeks, we're going to, like, the pounds will just start
one day. Why
off.
Don't I have rock hard everything?
I have stuck to my calorie goal for exactly one day. Why have I not lost all the weight? We have a fear of time commitment. Like, we're afraid of missing out on other things, or, we've got responsibilities to take care of. We have a lack of confidence. We have a fear of missing out on other things.
Like sitting on the couch.
Right. Right. Man, I sure will miss out on that couch sitting. And we're uncertain of the outcome.
Right. We focus on the outcome. If I exercise, that means I'm going to be yoked in 4 days.
That's
and then
right.
I'm not. And so I go back to the couch that misses me. Because I spend money on that couch. If I don't sit on it, I'm wasting it.
It's my new book, The 4-Day Yokening.
The yokening.
The yokening. That's right.
That sounds like some egg-based
my egg-based exercise plan, The Yokening.
Exactly. Okay, it sounds actually like it could be an episode title, but I'm not sure. Anyway, okay. So, Donald, where do we start? That's a very good question. I'm very glad.
You're glad you asked yourself that
I'm
question?
very glad I asked myself all of that. But I have experienced all of those things when dreading movement, especially that past experience, the failures, people making fun of me, having, like too high expectations of what exercise is. And going back to our teen mentioning like they're running the mile today and kind of seeing it like I actually got this like, no one's ever going to make you do that. Ha, being an adult is great.
I know.
And then it's like, oh, but I need to create agency and responsibility in my own life. Oops. Like nobody trained me for that in high school.
Yeah. And look, I don't want to get off on a whole thing, but it really is terrible that still in 2024, like our daughter just graduated high school back in whenever people graduate high school, June. And like that they still are traumatizing kids by forcing them to do, run the mile instead of, something that's more manageable for the kids that are less athletic.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, that could get us off on a whole thing. But I don't know if I told you this, Donald. I actually drove past Agony Hill a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
It was down near my old high school. It doesn't look as big now because I'm a grown up and I have ways of breaking down things into small.
And you ran up it and were not even phased.
No, I drove. That's why people get driver's licenses, so you don't have to run up Agony Hill. So when you are thinking about your health goals and your activity goals, a lot of times we can get just overwhelmed by too many options, all of these feelings of failure in the past, lack of confidence, etc. And so we're going to first remind you as a grown-up, again, this is grown-up adult language right now, exercise is not a punishment. It might have been in middle school. It might have been through your drill sergeant, high school athletics instructor.
Yeah.
But exercise is an investment in ourselves. And starting by recognizing that it is a gift to ourselves and not a punishment is such an important reframe. And when we start letting go of all of those old expectations of what exercise is supposed to be, you got to burn it, it's got to hurt, it's got to whatever. Once we start unraveling that rat's nest of drama and dread around it, the better we can take care of ourselves. And that starts by never thinking about something you have to do forever. So many times we think well, now I've got to be a runner, or now I've got to be a cardio person, or now I've got to be whatever. Let's not think about forever. What if we just think about the month ahead of us? What about the next few weeks? What can I do in the next few weeks?
Or the week ahead of us.
Yeah, the week ahead.
Or the next few days ahead of us.
Right. Never think about forever. Start small. And I know what you're saying right now. Oh, starting small, that's not enough. I get it. Stop. It's like, stop with the giant, because that hasn't worked in the past.
Yeah. And look, one of the biggest obstacles to doing any of this is getting started. And like the idea of something being so big that you just can't do it. But if you just do the thing, the smallest bit of it that you can get yourself to do right now, then you can start building the momentum on top of that.
Exactly. So start with your actual life in mind, not the ideals of your fantasy self. Focus on what you can influence and decide based on the next few days, like Donald said, the next couple of weeks. And also, when looking at starting a new activity, think of it as an experiment or an audition. We don't have to conform to pickleball just because the entire world is a giant pickleball at this point.
Yeah.
Try something out. See if it works. If it doesn't work, guess what? You get to pivot. You get to try something else. Don't be rigid. Don't think about, well, I'm going to do 75 days strong, whatever. Like, I'm going to go to the gym every single day. Don't get caught up in streaks and check marks and punch cards. Just show up authentically, give it a try, and see how you do. So now we're going to give you more of a detailed list of ways that you can incorporate exercise into your daily life. And where I started at the very beginning, again, was starting small. Like Donald said, don't think, I've got to do 30 minutes. Whatever association says 45 minutes a day is what you need. Start really small where you are with what you have. We have said this before, but I promise you there are still people who forget. Take a short walk. Do 2 minutes of walking in place. Do a couple of downward facing dogs in your living room instead of joining a yoga class.
Yeah.
Start in the smallest increment possible and celebrate that. Consistency is more important than volume when you start. Think about it like investing in retirement. I can't put my whole paycheck in there. Okay, great. Could you do $1? That's not enough. Okay, but what if you just put in that $1 instead of boo-hooing about it? Give that boo-hoo $1 investment in your health each day, but celebrate it. $1 is an amazing amount of money to invest.
Yeah, I mean, and people ignore a lot of times the long-term buildup of that, of the just doing like the one small thing and the one small thing, and how it adds up and really does make a difference over time. Step 2 is set realistic goals. So establish achievable goals that focus on your overall well-being rather than perfection. So instead of saying to yourself, I am going to do this workout every day, say, try to, start with, I'm going to do it on the weekends, or I'm going to do it 1 day a week, or I'm going to do it every other day. And if that goal is too big, like make it even smaller, but do something. And until you, like I said, build that momentum and it helps you to keep going. Like once you get into the routine of doing the small thing, that can lead to you doing a little bit of a bigger thing and a little bit of a bigger thing until it really does make a difference.
Well, and I think too, as part of that, we think like, well, I've got to do it 7 days a week and it's got to be hardcore. And instead of being upset that your life isn't conducive every single day, like you said, like, well, I work all week, so I can't work out. What am I going to do? Well, what about the weekends? Well, isn't it going to count? Like, okay, but what if you just did it anyway? Being able to see our lives and go, ooh, guess where I can fit it in? Stop focusing on what you can't do and look at what you can. The next one is focus on enjoyment. But Catherine, it's called Agony Hill. How am I going to enjoy that? Look at alternative ways of exercising. We've talked about it before. If the gym isn't for you, go on a walk. If a walk isn't for you, go swimming. If swimming isn't for you, dance in your living room to your favorite rock and or roll songs, or both rock and roll songs. Go to gardens, garden in your backyard, get in neat non-exercise activity thermogenesis.
Yeah.
Go to pumpkin patches. It's the fall. It's amazing. And another way is, this is sort of a junior extra double on the enjoyment part, is pairing. pair an activity with something you want to do. So, for example, when I go on a walk, I will listen to my favorite audiobook, which is Not the Unweddening, or whatever it was called. When I go on a walk, I will listen to that great murder podcast that I enjoy. When I go on a walk, I will call my BFF. Make it enjoyable. Pair it with something that you want to do. Want a Starbucks? Go walk over there, my friends.
Listen to the We Only Look Thin podcast.
Listen to that podcast.
Or the forthcoming audiobook, The Yokening, by Donald Weigel. Another thing to do is to create a routine and actually schedule your workouts like you would any other important appointment. So having a set time can really help you reduce decision fatigue. Like for Catherine and I, we don't decide every day, when we're going to work out. And I don't expect anybody to go straight to what we do, but, we get up pretty early in the morning, and we have a routine where we know we're going to get, a bunch of steps in the morning every day, and we don't negotiate it. It's just part of our daily routine that we do every workday.
Right. And especially this is sort of an extra double bonus. In the US next week is either the beginning or end of daylight saving. I don't know which is which, but whatever it is, we're going to fall back an hour, which means it's going to be lighter in the morning and darker in the evening. This is the perfect time to switch up your routine. If now I can't walk at night because it's dark. Okay, well, guess what? Mornings are a thing. You could do that. Switch it up based on the season to make it fit your schedule. Do it at lunchtime. Do it right after you get home from work. Whatever works for you. Just because mornings are right for us doesn't mean that it's right for everyone. But being consistent about it and setting it, like you said, as a scheduled item on your to-do list is super helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the next one, and this is huge, is limit information overload. Avoid being bombarded with fitness trends or comparisons on social media. Focus on what works for you without getting distracted by others' routines. I know people who keep buying more books, watching more videos, listening to more things, trying to gather information. And gathering information doesn't actually move the needle forward. I made the analogy to someone the other day that just going and sitting in a library doesn't mean you're a reader, right? You could be surrounded by things,
right?
But unless you're actually opening a book and reading the first sentence, the first paragraph, you're not a reader. Being surrounded by things doesn't inherently make you the kind of person you want to be. So don't follow more people. Don't look for the perfect plan. Just start today. Be inspired, yes, but don't get information overload and paralysis, wondering which way to go.
And I used to be guilty of this for years and years, over and over again. And for me, it was a form of procrastination.
Yeah.
I felt like if I was gathering more information, if I was doing more research on the perfect thing or trying to design the perfect routine, that I was moving towards a goal. It made me feel like I was doing something, but all I was really doing was putting off taking any action.
Oh my gosh, so much.
So another thing to do, and this doesn't work for everyone, but it works for a lot of people, is to seek support. Like some of you are out there going I'm a lone wolf, man.
That's you. You're looking in the mirror, man.
Oh, I wasn't going to call myself out on that, but that's probably true. But for a lot of people, it really helps to join a class or find a workout buddy, because having social support can make exercising feel more enjoyable and less daunting. Like if you're a people person, it might be a really fun social thing, and you might really look forward to doing it if you're meeting up for a spin class or a yoga class, or you're going on a walk with a group of people, something like that, or even just one person. Or another thing to do is join Molt Place. We didn't even have that in the notes, but it really can be a good way to get some social support for moving forward with your fitness goals.
Well, and a lot of online platforms like Peloton have live virtual classes where you can interact with people. So if you cannot get out of the house, you can still connect with people virtually. And there is really something about that synchronicity of knowing that other people are working hard at the exact same time that you are. And that's one of the things that I actually like about going to the gym is being able to be surrounded by other people who are getting things done.
Yeah, for sure.
It's kind of like, oh, other people, like we're all in this together. We're all making it happen. So if doing something with the support of others is helpful to you, do it. If you're like Donald Weigel, the lone wolf of my dreams, then do that.
I like that I'm the lone wolf of your dreams. That's nice. That's nice for me.
So the next one is mix it up. This was very difficult for me, especially for those people who love streaks. Like, I gotta walk every day. I've got to run every day. I've got, like, you pick one thing and you just run it or walk it into the ground.
Yeah.
I used to think that you just had to do one thing over and over again, just like podcasting.
And look, I'm sorry to cut you off, but streaks to me are really the enemy of achieving anything. Like, if you break the streak, then the tendency is, and for me, more than anybody, the tendency is to just stop doing it altogether. So getting that idea of setting a streak in mind has been really important to me. Getting that idea out of the way of having a perfect streak or aiming for perfection has been really important for me in achieving anything.
Well, and I think too, when I first got my Fitbit and tried to hit my step goal, I've said it, but I was walking in circles at 11:55 at night to hit my step goal.
Yeah.
That's not healthy. Like, that's not the spirit of activity. It's not about hitting some target every single day.
Although the other day I was getting into bed and realized I was 200 steps away from hitting my step goal. And I decided to get the 200 steps.
I saw you.
I was seriously like in pajamas, like about to crawl in bed. And I looked at my step count. I was like, oh, I'm 200 away.
I saw you out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, I cannot deal with this. So I literally moved my book I was reading to like cover the right side of my face, like horse blinders, so I didn't have to see you marching at me, because I didn't need that in my life.
That wasn't about keeping a streak alive, but it was just like, oh, I'm so close. I may as well just do it.
But the flexibility of mixing it up is really having that identity of, I am an active person and I get in movement in many ways. Sometimes I go for a walk at the botanical garden. Botanical garden. I'm going to say that again.
Yeah, you say that 3 times fast.
So sometimes I mix it up. So I am an active person. Sometimes that means going for a walk at the botanical garden on the weekend. Sometimes that means going to the farmer's market. Other times of the year, it means going swimming or going on a morning walk or looking at holiday lights. It doesn't have to be the same thing every day. And frankly, it is important to get a variety of movements in, because, I don't know, there's some science. You can look it up. You're a grown up. On
one's gonna make you look it up.
Diminishing returns of repeated activity. It's important to get a variety of activities. So having a menu to choose from can definitely make it seem less boring.
I hate to correct you, like on the recording, but it's pronounced botanica bugable.
You're not going to leave that part in, are you?
Oh
my gosh, you're the worst. Okay.
I am indeed the worst. Okay, so another important step in this is to acknowledge your progress and really celebrate your small achievements, whether it's completing a workout or sticking to your routine for a week, or heck, even doing it for a day or two. It can really boost your motivation. And it may sound silly. This is one of the things that BJ Fogg talks about from Tiny Habits but really, like, coming up with some sort of celebration when you do a small thing really does make you feel good when you do it. And it's sort of like, how you feel when you cross something off a to-do list. Like, I know I feel a real sense of achievement when that happens. And I get that little hit of dopamine, and, giving yourself that little celebration and acknowledging your achievement, because I see way too often on the subreddits I frequent, people talking about like, oh, I've lost 20 pounds, but why is it not happening faster? Like why? I just want it to be over. And, there's so much wrong with that statement, but really celebrating and recognizing the progress you've made so far really helps you keep going.
Exactly. And I think part of that too, that celebration, is just knowing that every daily investment is just another vote for the kind of person that you're working on becoming. Look at all the things I did this week that add up to activity. For me, that is a really huge change. And then the last one that we're going to talk about, and I'm going to flip this, I'm going to say it two ways, the for it and the against it. So here we go, is listen to your body. If you're feeling overwhelmed, it's okay to take a break, reduce the amount of time you're investing in your activity, do something low intensity, and prioritize listening to how your body feels. If you are in pain, forcing yourself to go out on a run is not going to help your joints. Right? Pull back, do something that is lower impact. We did an episode called My Left Foot, where we talked about literally I couldn't walk. What could I do? Okay, well, when I can't walk, I can focus on core exercises. When when I have overworked my ripped abs, I can do arm exercises or go swimming and do something that is less intensive on my body. So definitely being able to switch things up and not seeing it as, oh my gosh, I missed my spin class. I'm a garbage person, but I ended up going on a walk with a friend after work. That is a great accommodation to listen to your body. Another part of that is if you are sick, missing an exercise is not a failure.
Yeah.
Taking care to not overdo it when you are ill. Think about it as pausing instead of stopping. It is important to, if your tire, what does it do? Break, pop, whatever. What does a tire do? Explode?
Gets flat.
Flat.
Yeah.
When your tire goes flat, you don't Evel Knievel it and go okay, we've got 3 good tires, go 60 miles an hour, and I'll get out on the hubcap and hold on to the side of the car and change the tire, right? We stop, we change the tire or call AAA, and then we get back on the road. So think of it as a pause on the journey venture, not a stop.
And, this is what Olivia Newton-John was talking about when she said, let me hear your body talk. She was talking about you listening to your own body, I think, in that song.
Oh,
that's
Donald,
what that song was really
about. You
naive
young man. You don't know what getting physical is about or what it's not getting about.
I don't know what you mean.
Well, get your leg warmers and let's get going. But as we finish up this episode, I am going to give you the sort of opposite side of the listening to your body. As we are recording this, as it is coming out, October 28th, which is the Monday, is actually the anniversary of my stepmother's heart transplant.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I wish I could say exactly, but it was maybe 19, 20 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
She got a heart transplant. And I remember, I'm getting emotional about it. I remember sitting in her hospital room a couple of hours after she came out of anesthesia, and she was resting, and it was over. It was amazing. I remember the nurse coming into the room, and she started clearing some things away, and she said that it was time for my stepmother to get up and start walking around. This was hours after she had a heart transplant.
Yeah.
Right? Hours. And I was really angry. I was like, no, she needs to rest. And the nurse turned to me and said, she absolutely does not. When you have a heart transplant, you have to integrate the heart immediately. You can't, no one just sleeps for 8 days and then wakes up and suddenly you're walking around.
Yeah.
You become the kind of person who is able to get around by starting the process of standing up and moving your body. And quite honestly, at the time, I mean, I was a lot younger, obviously, but I felt like it was unfair. I got kind of teary-eyed, and the nurse got my stepmother out of bed. And even if it was like 20 seconds or something like that, she got her out of bed and had her walking around. And again, at the time, I felt like it was really unfair. But sometimes, even though we want to sit, we want to be still, we're overwhelmed, we have so much going on, I'll exercise when I have more energy. That nurse knew that despite instincts to remain still, that movement was critical for blood flow, for organ integration, for recovery. And for me, it was, seeing them day after day, take her to physical therapy, getting her up, moving around the hospital. It is 20 years hence.
Yeah.
And she is probably the most fit person
She's gonna outlive us
family.
For sure.
100%. 100% she is going to outlive us all. And at the time, it seemed unfair to have her up and getting around. I wanted her to be comfortable. I wanted her to be still. But it turns out that sometimes like I said, our instinct for stillness and waiting for a better time is actually not the right answer. We went to the doctor the other day for another situation, and the doctor that we spoke to, not about my stepmother, talked about how there is basically not one ailment in the world where physical therapy and daily movement are not part of the prescription. It's not, unless you're like literally in a coma, must be nice, that movement is important for everyone. It is not a punishment. It is not a pass or fail grade. It is not timed, but it is important for your wellness. And when we let go of societal expectations, previous expectations, or setbacks, or failures, or judgments, or names of terrible hills that you had to run in middle school, and remember that we are the stewards of our bodies, and no one is coming to save us from ourselves.
Yeah.
We need to put in the effort day by day, activity by activity, to take care of ourselves, and knowing that we don't have to live up to some perfect standard, but rather show up for ourselves today and push past that discomfort and the wondering, is this the right thing? Is it the perfect thing? Letting go of all of that dread, literally standing up and doing the next thing that you can do. If you can't stand, what can you do seated? If you can't sit, what can you do lying down? Every bit of investment in our health matters, and changing that dread to inspiration of, look at what I'm doing for myself. Look at how I'm caring for myself, really matters. And I know that if we can become active people from like bona fide couch potatoes, we know that you can too. What investment can you make today? Go and do it now.
Yeah, and if a woman who had a heart transplant about 2 hours earlier can get up out of bed and walk around a room, you can take a 5 or 10 minute walk or take the stairs once in a while.
Yeah, take the stairs once in a while.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. We are grateful to each and every one of you. I mean, truly, we are grateful that you've decided to take some time out of your day and listen to one of these episodes. If you enjoyed this episode, the most recent 300 are available on all of the major podcast platforms, and every single episode back to the beginning is available on YouTube and also on our website at weonlylookthin.com.
Yep. And if you head over to our website, click on that link for Join Our Support Group to find out more about Wolt Place. We Only Look Thin Place is our Facebook-based accountability group for women. We are not a weight loss plan. We are not going to knock on your door and make sure that you're getting in your activity. But if you want to be part of a fellowship of people who are all working on their goals in different ways, Wolt Place is the right place for you. So show up with your plan, show up with your activity, and get support and fellowship with other people on their journey ventures. We do weekly Zoom meetings. We've got subgroups for accountability in weighing in on the scale, your food choices, activity, and more. We have 2 subscription options, a monthly subscription with a 3-day complimentary trial and a 3-month subscription with a 7-day complimentary trial to see if Wolt Place is right for you.
Yeah, so please check it out. And you can also interact with us on social media. We are on Facebook and Instagram at We Only Look Thin. Or you can send us an email if you have an episode suggestion, if you have a question, if you have something you can suggest to us for how you have gotten over your dread and made exercise more enjoyable. We would like to hear about that. And you can do all of those things by sending us an email to weonlylookthin@gmail.com.
Yep. And if you have a couple of extra minutes, please head over to Apple Podcast and leave us a rating and a review. Not only does it let us know that what we are doing after all of these years is making a difference in your life, new listener, seasoned listener, please head over there, leave us a 5-star review, and send us a couple of nice words. Again, it lets us know that what we're doing matters. And it also boosts our ratings when people are looking for educational, fun time podcasts like ours.
I know that cannibalism is typically frowned upon, but seasoned listener sounds delicious to me.
You have problems, man. Though I'm actually the one who was talking about panko breaded people the other day. Yeah, so that's a whole other story for another episode.
I don't know if we want to go down that. We'll just say it was a Halloween thing and move on from there. Also, if you would like to help us out, another way is to just tell somebody about the show. Word of mouth really does help the show grow. When somebody hears directly from you that you're getting something out of the show, they value your opinion, and it really does help, give them that little nudge to give us a try. Or if you're on an internet group, if you are on a Facebook page or a Reddit subgroup, I always call it a Reddit subgroup. It's a subreddit. And
dark web. It's fine.
The dark web, the beige web. Or if you're like in a Discord server and it seems appropriate to give us a shout out, that really does help the show grow, and we would be grateful.
Yep. So whether you are dreading running Agony Hill or dreading Donald standing next to your bed marching in place while you're trying to sleep, just remember that Donald and I are...
I don't do that too often.
An inspiration.
I'm standing next to your bed marching in place, Catherine. The information that you hear on this podcast is for informational purposes only. The hosts are not medical professionals. You should always consult with your doctor, nurse, or other certified health professional before beginning any diet or fitness program.
Yeah.